I'm from Ekiti State. I grew up in Lagos State, Ikeja. My childhood was fun. I had a lot of family members, brothers, uncles and aunties around who made everything, my growing up, a memorable one. I also went to international school, Lagos. That's in Unilag. Then also went to Unilag. I went into the fashion industry as a tailor. I had 7 years experience. Although I was running the tailoring back in the university. So with the time from the university, say 3 or 4 years, then 7 years after university. So I'll say 11 years before I went in. It was an opening, a launching of an energy drink at Eco Hotels. So I was there with a couple of friends and I was chatting with somebody who wanted to be at that event. There were a lot of people there. We had a lot of crowd, people coming in and going out. And I had VIP access into the place, so I could bring in another person. So when my friend told me he wanted to get into the event, I said, okay, I'll just drive down to the mainland, get him and come back to the event. I said it was a launching of an energy drink in the Eco Hotels. So I drove out of Eco Hotel, then I had passed Third Mainland, descending Third Mainland around the Iyanoworo axis. I had an accident. There was a cone in the middle of the road and I sort of lost balance driving. Then I got into an accident, a car crash. But I came out well and good without any much scratches. I had a few shots of vodka, a few shots, not more than 2 or 3. But I had a lot of energy drinks. I had a lot. Descending Third Mainland Bridge, approaching Iyanoworo. I was on my phone, but I already had a few shots, like I said, I already had a few shots of vodka and a lot of energy drinks. So in that split second, when I was removing my phone from my lap, placing it on the chair, I came across a cone. And that cone, I couldn't slow down, so I had to just try and get my way to safety. Then I lost control. I hit the car on the covert. The car rolled to the other side. But before I hit the car on the covert, before I approached the cone, I noticed a road safety truck on the left hand, parked on the left-hand side with the revolver lights on. But my car hit, like just beside the cone, when I swerved from the cone, I hit the covert and the covert bounced my car opposite direction. So I didn't even go close to the road safety car. So when I came down, the witnesses and the guys around that came to assist me told me, "Oga, you didn't kill anybody." I now looked around, I now saw bodies on the floor. I saw 2 bodies on the main road and one was in the ditch, that ditch dividing the 2 bridges, one going to the island and one coming back. There was a body in there. Though because I noticed they had a lot of people trying to get that body out. So when they told me that, the guy told me, "Oga, you're not the one, you didn't kill anybody." And I asked him what happened, because I know that I didn't hit anybody. He said the road safety officials tried to stop a truck coming from all those Aboki guys that carried trucks in the middle of the night. They tried to stop that truck and the truck ran them over and killed them, but went away. So it was like a hit and run thing, but I now happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, where I had my own accident. So being that I had my accident and my car was right off, I couldn't move the car and they already held me, they already told me to sit down, they were going to come attend to me. Then those same guys came to me and told me, "Oga, don't sit down here, leave." Because if you stay here, these people will kill you. Just leave. So I had to leave and contacted our lawyers before they went to road safety to make the complaint. Actually, the guys that assisted me told me they tried to stop a trailer that was coming in the middle of the night, and the Aboki guys slaughtered them or did something to them. So they told me that what they were, one of them was saying that, oh God, don't no grief for them, oh. You know, no be you kill them, you no kill anybody. Because if those people hold you now, they go talk say now you kill them. Just you start run, come off for here. So I had to just find my way to leave the area. Because I know that the car has been insured, and if the police went searching, they will find the person that drove the car. So 3 or 4 days later, our lawyers contacted the road safety officials and they invited me over to their station. They actually came to pick me up. So when I got to their road safety office at Underbridge Ikeja, they asked me a few questions, my name, my address, how old I was, and there, the man that asked me those names just handed me over to some police officers. So those police officers charged me for killing 3 of the road safety officials, so that I was going to be detained at their police station at Iyanoworo. So I went with them. I spent 3 days there. In that 3 days, the 3rd day, that weekend was going to be the subsidy strike. So there were agitations of whether the strike was going to hold or not, speculations whether it was going to hold or not. So the DPO charged my case to court. They charged my case to court, so when I went to court, I was detained and I was granted bail. But when I got to the prison, Ikoyi prison, the subsidy strike ended up happening. So I was there for 2 weeks till my bail was perfected. Then I came out. Then ever since then, that was around 2012, ever since then I was going to courts. Adjournments. And during that period, I went back. While I was out, I furthered more in my learning on the fashion skills. So I was still doing the fashion, going to court, doing the fashion, going to court. So in 2017, November 2017, so I was convicted for manslaughter, and I was sentenced to 2 years in prison for a 3-count charge, which I was to serve concurrently. So I was sent in for 2 years.
On the day he was sentenced, me, I believed that God would take control. I had prayed, I had fasted. I said, God will take control, it won't happen. So 2 days, okay, let me go back. 2 days before the day we went to court and he was sentenced, or 3 days before then, it was over the weekend, then during the week was when it happened. I remember that we were watching a movie. I can't remember the movie, but the movie is just centered, from my system, just centered around prison. And I would maybe make a gesture about how a particular incident turned out and the person found himself in the prison. And he came so touchy. I'm like, what is wrong with you? He said, you know that I'm afraid. I have court meeting like in a day or 2 days time. We're watching this. I'm like, okay. So I knew that it was working on his psyche, and immediately I put off the TV and we didn't watch that movie anymore. And he made me know that, okay, this guy is behaving like if he's very strong, but he's very afraid. So I started praying, I fasted. Even the day of the sentence, I fasted. While I was in court, when the judge declared the judgment, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't even cry. I don't know how to express the kind of emotion where you're numb. That's how I felt. So it's upstairs. So I find myself, I climbed, I was confused, and this how the stairway is, you go climb like this. So I left the courtroom, I just left there, because immediately they declared the sentence, he put his head down in despair, and I couldn't watch him, so I went downstairs. I was just saying, God, my life, my life, my life. I came down. Where I did that 3 times. I'm like, where am I going to start from? What am I going to do? I just met this guy a couple of months. Can I walk? I want to walk. I'll come back. Let's continue. So, I had to call his mom.
To tell her the situation of things. And I thought that she should come. Because she was working in a school as a nurse, a head nurse, so I told her to come. I didn't tell her what was happening, but I just told her to come. And she came.
I couldn't cry because I've been talking to God about it. So I was at the state of how David felt in the Bible, where he was praying to God about something, about his child that was ill. And immediately after the child died, he was like, okay, that's the way I felt. I was just thinking, I have to be strong for this woman. I felt this guy had, even if it's just a couple of months, he has proved himself to be someone I can trust. So let me go ahead with this. Then I had a job, and at the time I felt I needed something better. So I was waiting for something better. And the mom too, she got another job doing. So I was always the only one in the house. That was his house. My mom, nobody. My sisters, nobody. I'm close to my sisters. Nobody knew what was happening to me. They were trying to understand why I won't come home. And that's because I know that if I come home, because I've once brought him to the house. So my mom knows him. My mom, for the first time, she's not the type of person that really likes boyfriends. For the first time, she accepted him. And she said she liked him. And now how am I going to tell them? I started telling them he traveled. They're like, oh, it's been 6 months, isn't he coming back? I'm like, he will come back, but not now. We have husbands and wives that have secrets that they die with. You know already that he didn't do this, but please help me keep this thing. We had days until I finally got a job. We had days where I'm not from a family where I can't be comfortable, but I didn't mind being in that discomfort just so that, because his mother is a good woman. And whenever I see her cry, I'll just try to. And I couldn't just leave her. So I had no choice but to be in the house. Sometimes, maybe like once, twice, I actually went home. But then I had already prepped myself not to talk too much, so that I don't end up, or probably I'll go back home because I know, okay, I'll say I'm going to work from home. So I'll go in the evening. So all I have to do is, hey, everybody, and everybody goes to sleep. I go to my room, the next morning prepare and go to work. So nothing is making me, I never spent a weekend, so we don't see ourselves to the extent of saying, oh, so how it be now, how it did now, you get me? So that was what I was doing until when he came out.
Inside Kirikiri Medium Prison. Well, the experience wasn't a good one, because for somebody who had never had any dealings or any issue with the law, happened to be sentenced for the first time, it wasn't a good experience at all for me. Inside Nigerian prison, we're in Nigeria now, we know how everything is. Inside Nigerian prison is not what it should be. There's a lot of suffering, a lot of hunger. There's food, but the food given there is crap. So you imagine how people survive. Although people get food, there are some people that bring food from outside to sell, but it's regulated. Not everybody can afford it. Not everybody can afford it. So my experience on the inside wasn't a good one.
I asked questions, I asked the lawyer questions. I even went as far as finding out from the enforcement agency. I didn't mind secretly going to go and find out, did this guy do this thing? Because they usually come, like, did it happen? I called him, me and his mom called one of them, tell us, we need to know. He said, the thing is, maybe another person did it too, but he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. So after finding out that, I'm like, okay, this guy didn't do this. I was just tortured for something he didn't do, so gave me reason to trust.
I witnessed a few deaths. Those that were probably sick, nursing some kind of illness, and those who were addicts that were using drugs uncontrollably. Yeah, I witnessed one or two deaths, but not around my cell area. But in the yard, we'll hear that, okay, or we'll see them rushing somebody out. They're fighting every day, and for no just reason. Just when you bottle men together in one place, ego, pride, somebody telling you don't know who I am, because something brought me here, you are talking. Fights will always happen. There's always fights. There's fights every day. And if the fights get too serious and they get caught by the warders, they get locked up in confinement. They confine them to a cell for probably a day or two. Or if it gets worse, they send them to the single cell. Well, that's where they have the ex-convicts, because the ex-convicts have, the ones that are on death row, those ones have their own center in the prison. So they could confine them to those guys' cell for like a day or two, waiting to be killed. Yeah.
I remember there was a time I went visiting and somebody told me, a warder, because I was this peaceful kind of lady that comes in. I know sometimes you have to tip with your money too, just to make sure that he's okay and they allow you see him at the time you want to see him. So sometimes I could actually go when they say it's time over, but because it's me, they'll allow me in. So I was friendly with the chief warder. There was a time because you would see other warders outside before you get in. So there was a time I went to see, you would meet the other warders. So when I was ready to, because sometimes I would go with food stuff. So a particular warder And seeing that I'm from his tribe, felt okay, let me talk her in. Said, you're a fine lady. Why are you helping? And you're young. Why are you doing this? Like, it's none of your concern. And then so that I don't get disturbed, I was claiming we were already married. But the chief warder knew we weren't. But every other warder, I always, so that I don't get bothered by men. But this particular one, there are men that they don't mind whether you're married or not. They'll be a bug. So he told me, and the way he spoke, he said that I should meet him later in the evening. He would tell me the location where I'll come and meet him. Made me feel afraid that if I don't comply, that they are going to. And if you're someone that watch a lot of foreign movies, the thought that comes to your head is better is beating up, or I had a lot of that fear. Sometimes I'll wake up and that's the nightmare that wakes me up. So I was so afraid. When I got inside, I told the chief warder, and I was lucky. They got him out of that spot and moved him to, I think, the side for those that have committed extreme crime. So I also remember one day I was at the main gate and I met someone who I knew from school. Oh God. I denied myself. You must be mistaken. I'm not. But you are. You schooled in so. I said, no, I schooled in another school. He said, but you are. I was so angry. I said, stop this. You're embarrassing me. I went back. I handled that. When I went inside, these are two guys that I've handled through my influence of being a sweet, loving girl, so that I get to make sure that he's at peace there. So when I got inside, I spoke with the chief and I spoke my pain. He might know me, but it's unprofessional for him to do that in public. I don't know what he's going to do. I described how he looked like. He said, don't worry, you won't see him again. So they moved him. The next time I went there, I didn't see him again. First, the next time I saw him, because sometimes I could spend a week or two and before I go to see him. And when he was close to the time, excitement always made me go probably 2 days. I didn't mind how expensive it was. Because oh, we're almost there. When it was February, yeah, we'll be done with this.
I wasn't in, because it's different when you enter, depending on your case. If the person was signed to be executed, to go in for death, they have like a secluded space in the yard, different from every other cell.
So what you're saying is a punishment?
Yes, for the punishment.
For fighting in the other side is to take you
to the true people are. Yeah, there are vocational centers there. When I got in, I was being a fashion designer. I was pushed to the fashion department, the tailoring unit.
There were times where I would have to, because I was also in communications with his customer, and anytime they call, because I had his phone number, the major business line, so most of the time they would chat. You understand? I'll chat to them even if they call. I'll say, oh, he's not around at the moment. I'll speak like customer service, like he's not around at the moment. But if there's something you need to let him know, you could tell me, then I'll let him know. And he said, okay, I would like to see pictures. I want to make this, I want to make that. I'm like, okay, I'll share it with you on WhatsApp using that's his line. So that was what I was doing.
They'll come around and they'll announce that if you want to learn a skill, you can join them at so-so hall or so-so space. Once they open the gates at a certain time, come and meet us under this tree or come to so-so hall. Then you can enroll and learn any skill you want. It could be shoemaking, it could be tailoring, it could be soap making, it could be paint making.
So prisoners were taking advantage of the opportunity.
And there was the church, the Christian unit where they brought in, they taught a lot of people, so many other stuff, but prisoners didn't really take advantage. Like when you have like 5,000 men in one yard, you have like 12 or let's say 30 people in all vocational centers. As you split them, let's say 5 today. If 2 come today, 2 might not come again the following day. So we just had them like that.
So in that period, while he was away, I actually met people, but I was not interested. I met someone who I already knew before he went in there, and the guy made me feel like if he actually knew of the ordeal, and so he made me feel very, very stupid, and he even mocked me. He says, like, you don't like yourself. I'm like, man, good for you. Go get someone else, I'm not interested. And this is someone I had worked for. He actually, how he tried to get to me was by giving me a job to do something that I usually do, because I write content. So I did a couple for him, and I asked for my money. He said he can't pay me. I said, why? He said, the real reason why I even give you this job, I didn't even get it. So go and look for something else doing. I cried a lot after that because I really needed the money at the time. So by the grace of God, I found something else doing until he left. I have met other people, but they were not as serious as this one that was the other one that I mentioned that gave me a job, that was acting like a desperado. So, and I think God was just making him lucky. Whoever I was meeting, there was always something about them that was just off. So I was not attracted. Either it was the issue of physical attraction or emotional attraction. So he was just lucky for me not to have met someone that would have been exactly his kind of spec. So I think it's the grace of God that helped him.
Yeah, I thought I lost everything. My mind wasn't really settled. I wasn't really happy because I lost my freedom. I was going to be confined in a cell for a year and a half. So it's not a good thing for anybody to think about. I wasn't happy. No friends to talk to, or even hang out with, nobody to really keep me company. I was just all alone. But with the help of family, my mom and my sister and my girlfriend. I met my girlfriend around the area where I was working. That was in Ikeja, around Okpebi. She worked like 5 buildings away, and they came to do marketing at my end. So that's where I met her. I met her in February. Then I was still going to court. So I met her in February. We started dating, and when we started dating, like a month, yeah, I told her, look, I have this case I'm battling right now. I'm going to court for a case that happened sometime in December, many years ago. And she stuck with me, and even when I had my adjournment dates, when she wasn't working, she joined me to court several times.
When he told me about it, I was not happy, and I felt it was something that's going to go. So every time I went, I would always say, I'm interested in seeing the family of the people that were affected. We never saw anybody. All I always saw was one mini persecutor.
The day I was sentenced in November 20th, she was with me at the court that day. She was with me. That's where I could hand over my phone and my shop key, my ATM and everything to her. And I told her about the few jobs already on ground, and I was going to need her to help me monitor and pay the staff that were working with us then. She came visiting like 22 times or 25 times in 30 days in a month for about three to 4 months. I had to even plead with her to even stop coming every time. So she came every time, she was there for me. So when my mom had things to give me, she would go pick them up from my mom, bring them to me at the prison. Yeah. And I describe it as heaven sent, because not this time where you have such trustworthy people. Even if they do it for a week or two, they will definitely get fed up. But she stayed, she stuck with me all through. Even when I felt very bad and very dehumanized, she always put in a word of confidence and courage in me and told me that everything will be over real soon. I had life-changing experiences. I quit a lot of things when I got into that place. Coming out, I said I was never going to be that kind of person.
So today, since he left the prison, I've seen that it has affected him psychologically. He, most of the time, is afraid, even of things he shouldn't be afraid of. If there were risks that he would like to take and are like, let's go for it, he would think and overthink to the extent that he would just lose the opportunity because of the fear of the unknown. You get? And he is also afraid to trust. That first time when he came out, he found it hard to believe that actually true, because at times I'll go visit and he would just look at me, he would say, I had a dream. I just watch him. When he's over my heart, I'm like, when you're done talking, I'm like, God, give me grace to just tolerate this. And I already understood. I did a bit of psychology in school, so I understood what was happening to him. So I'm like, are you done? So I'll now speak to him, encourage him, then joke about it. And when he's now himself, I'm like, you offended me with that statement.
I changed a lot of habits. I used to be a staunch, what do you call it? I used to be a glutton. I used to eat a lot. I was quite obese. But getting into that setting where you don't get to eat what you want to eat, prepared the way you would love it to be prepared. So I starved myself a couple of times, most times anyway. So I never really became a fan of eating like that again while I was in there. Although when I came out, it all came back. And the way I relate with people around me, I also had a very bad temper. And coming out, when going in there, you know what temper can cost a man. So I had to do away with temper as well. Anger, I had to do away with it. Although I noticed that in there is more real. You get to experience life faster in there than the outside world. Because there I noticed that you could tell somebody could tell somebody a secret, and within 2 hours, the whole compound has heard that secret. So when I look at it and say, this is what's happening in the real world, this is what's happening outside, where you feel, and outside people will hide that feeling. You might tell somebody a secret and that person will reveal that secret to everybody, and everybody will look at you and they will act like as if that secret was never told. But in there, you will know that your secret was told, and they will point you out and they will let you know that this was the person that said this thing at so time. So I realized that talk less, listen more in there. You have to be quick at listening and slow to speak, because whatever you say might get you killed. A lot of people got injured, got amputated, or lost something in their body for what they said or what they shouldn't have said. So I learned those few things there. So just keep short, don't talk, just listen. So I've said my story, and the only thing I can advise you out of this is don't drink and drive, don't use your phone while driving, and don't jump at every invite that you get. Sit down and ask yourself, is it worth it? If you know it's going to stress you, some invites can stress you and might be good for you, but if it's going to stress you and get you into danger, stay away from it. So you heard my story, and my case was a case of being at the bad timing, being at the wrong place at the wrong time. So I went in for a case that wasn't a criminal case. Just imagine someone else going in for a case that he actually committed a crime. The suffering is even going to be more than what anybody will expect. So stay good and stay true, and live a life free, void of crime.